Hello there. It's been a while since I made a video. Today, I'm going to talk about taboos in generally. Just what what is forbidden, why are things forbidden, why things shouldn't be forbidden, what I think probably should be forbidden, which is probably quite a short list, I must say. But generally, just exploring the whole idea of what we socially accept or do not accept. It's pretty interesting. I think the easiest way to do it is just go for the easy. If I'm just gonna go straight forward, let me just go straight for the easy way. Like the use of nigger or the N word, which is interesting because that in itself is censorship, right? So this idea of censorship, certain words or something like that. But I think nigger is probably the most interesting one because it's like there's three forms. I've thought about this. There's three forms where people just react as if there's one form. There's something like, oh, this guy's my nigger, or stop being a nigger, damn it, which is negative. It's like, these niggas. So, like, for example, in one sentence, you can be like, he used to be my nigger, but now this nigga's a nigger, for example, which is kind of confusing, but like, depending on the inflection you put on it, depending on the context, you have a positive form, a negative form, and a neutral form, which would be my homie or bro or something like that, 3/5 of a man, or say this person, respectively. So even from seeing stuff like certain words, just depending on their context, they become taboo. But just like because one of the contexts is taboo, not all of them are taboo. Like for example, rape. Like this idea is taboo because then again that's a bit more straightforward. Rape is normally pretty bad, so I suppose the idea of taboo kind of makes sense there. But even then, like I can't make rape jokes, but then in certain points a rape joke will be funny. And then for example, the word rape in say a video game community would mean just to beat someone badly. So like I totally raped them is actually a positive sense, which is interesting. The whole idea of language and how it just develops and changes over time. So it's like, but even then, the fact that it has a positive meaning in the video game community because of its original meaning, to force yourself onto a person, in this sense. But it's the whole thing of like how, for example, slang develops or different meanings for the same words develop. That kind of, in essence, would remove the taboo, because I wouldn't say, oh, you got raped, like if it wasn't the thing already, if I didn't already hear it, like in streams, if I didn't already hear it, that get raped, son. It's just so casual, Jack. You pull off a good play, and you're like, I'll get raped, son, get raped, and you just go along with your day, just like, So it's just like, if you can do that, then arguably speaking, maybe there might come a point where nothing is taboo. And I think, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I think mostly it would be a good thing. It's the idea that no one feels, I think in the sense that no one feels like censored before they even talk. I don't think everyone should be able to say what they say in the way they want to say it. However, like I think it's important that we still need to keep communication, or like just educate people. So, for example, if I said like I'll get raped to someone who wasn't really part in a games community originally, you'd be like, "Well, get raped? What? Well, that's kind of dark, sir," or something like that. If you explain to them, and I think that's what we need more of. If you can explain to them, if I can explain to you, I'm using nigger in this context, because I have a close friend, like I have a close friend, blonde hair, blue eyes, like he uses nigger more than I do, but in that context, in the often in a neutral context, for example, it's just a word. You see, most things are just words. Words are very important, but they're just words. Just like music. Music is music. Music is wonderful. Music can bring someone to tears. Like just a combination of melody and a crescendo harmony. These are the things that really get to me myself. Or just a decent 6/8 track. But in essence, it's just a few notes. Just like how words, when put together in a certain way, can create and develop something so strong and powerful. However, you have to remember these are just words, and they're manipulating tools for emotions or communication. Just we're using them, like Like the same way we use instruments to create certain music or certain notes to express something, same way we use words in this expression. So you have to remember that some people use expressions different ways. Like the amount of songs, for example, I've written that have like sad lyrics, but I use like a major key, for example, like this idea of, you know, it's just notes and it's just expression, rather than thinking, oh, you know, this note must be used for sad songs, or this chord progression only works for happy songs. When you can always mix it up. Yes, it feels weird, but you can always mix it up. Just like how this word only works in this context, or this thing only works in that context, or this ideology only matches this context. For example, like if you're gonna say, if I was pro gay marriage, for example, then I must be liberal, which is theoretically true. But what if I just happen to be conservative, or something else, something else in the like social political diagram? You know, that means I was just pro gay, but then I was still like a fiscal conservative. Or if I was, you know, for example, thing is, it's different. You know, that deliberism, cause like the way things get attached on to certain bigger ideas. Because I think where taboos come from, this whole problem of when things get attached onto bigger ideas, then people start to prejudice a lot easier. Because I think that's what we like to do. We like to group things into groups. So it's like, you know, the classic stuff like, oh, he goes to Peckham, so he knows about the streets. You know, streets. That's little Blocko shout out there. But you know, he knows about the streets and everything. But there's kids in Blocko who don't know about the streets. They don't know about the roads. They know about the suburbs. They know about the manor. They don't know about the streets. You know, for example, it's like grouping this idea of Peckham. Although there's different ideas of Peckham, like I picked this up in Brixton. Brixton's an interesting place. That can be said as in Brixton's an interesting place because the underlying crime there, which actually is improving, I've heard actually. Or Brixton's an interesting place because the O2 Academy Islington. So this whole idea of, you know, different perceptions, which I think is the problem. Like people forget to think about other people's perceptions of things like the same word or the same idea or the same situation. You know, so at least the point where things become taboo in certain areas. You know, so it's like, what was that thing? Yeah, Immanuel Kant and the conceptual schema. The idea that, you know, we'll never know the true world. Like we live in the phenomenal world where we interact with these things, but we don't know the noumenal world, the world in itself. So if I could apply this idea in this way, like we know certain things or certain situations or certain words, like nigger, or certain ideas or certain things like rape, in one sense, we lose sight of the thing in itself. Just like as I said, like how notes are just the note in itself isn't sad, it's more perception really. Like this is a sad song, like how people can watch the same film and come out to different reactions. Like when I watched Titanic for the first time because I was a kid, I laughed at some of the scenes that were almost comically almost comically thrown together because of the way they fell off the boat and hit. Like if that was a cartoon, I'd be laughing, but because it's an action film, because it's a live action, now I have to cry about Titanic. And for example, you know, which is how you get different perceptions, you know. But in the same sense, am I taboo? Is it a taboo for me to laugh at Titanic, or is that just me being like a future serial killer? I don't know. Just kind of speaking of serial killers, it kind of leads into the next idea of actions being taboo. You know, like obviously we live in countries, most of us, where certain laws which are based on most of the taboos that have been around for the time. So obviously stuff like murder, you know, robbering, stuff like that. You know, this idea of morality that comes into play, obviously. And so the whole thing of like, I think I noticed this year, it was like, a lot of the time, I can do anything I want, and a lot of people can do the same. A lot of people, we can do whatever we want, and then we don't do it because of a certain thing. So this is both a positive and a negative thing. So I can do whatever I want. So right now I'm making a YouTube video, but I can look out the window, and if I bored enough, I could pick up this laptop and just throw it out the window. But why would I do that? Why don't I do that? Thing is, why do I not do it? If I can do it, you know. Idea of like there must be some kind of taboo against it. Must be something in my mind, a decision made that says either what's the point, or no, there's a reason why I shouldn't be doing it, although I'm able to do it. So a positive thing, for example, like I'm able to, I don't know, help the homeless guy, but then there's a slight taboo against homeless people about the whole, because it's based on some other prejudice. You link homelessness with, oh, this guy must have messed up his own life. Although sometimes people get caught out in bad situations, for example. So it links back to the whole idea of like grouping these ideas. You forget about the thing in itself, just the homeless man in itself, rather than people focus on the backstory or think about their storyline. So people forget about just the art of charity in itself. It's an art, really. It's an art. How much do you give? What do you give? How are you helping them out? It's like something to study just how the acts and the mental volitions that go through people that give money to homeless people, especially the ones that actually take out money, like, and actually walk up to them, not people that are just walking past and then get ask them for change and then they're feeling good on the day, so like, yeah, whatever. People that actually take out money with the clear intention beforehand, before even seeing the homeless person, knowing that the homeless people there. For example, I did this one time, like, because I live in Elephant Castle and there's homeless people in the subway all the time. I know this in the back of my head. I know there's homeless people now. That's a guarantee, basically. So I'm about to walk into that area on the way home, and knowing that there's homeless people, I walked in with the intention of giving people a pound, like these two homeless people a pound each. It's just one of those days, And this whole thing, I didn't need to do that. I could have not done it. I could have also done it. And this whole thing of, like, is it scary that we could do anything bad that we wanted to at any given time? Like, I could go beat down someone's house, knock on someone's door, like, act all calm, and then strangle them at their doorstep to death. I could do that. You could do that too. Is it bad that we are able to do that? I know a few things are holding us back, such as, the law. A lot of people say, like, if they killed someone, the law wouldn't be in the way of themselves, their own morality. So a lot of things, the only thing stopping them is morality, which sometimes can be shaky. Like, if someone loses their temper, morality isn't really a big deal anymore, for example. So there's quite a little amount of things stopping you from doing something like that. So is it bad that there's not a lot of things that can stop you from doing that, or is it a good thing? Or is it also bad that, we are stopped from doing good things? Is it more scary that we do, that we know we can do such great things and we don't, or more scary that we know we can do such terrible things and we're just holding ourselves back with nothing, not much, just a bit of morality? Some people follow the law, some people choose to follow the law. I'm thinking, which one is more scary? The fact that we have so much potential to do great, but we never reach it, and we never even try to reach it. We never do all the things that we think, oh, today I could do that. Today I could do that. On the way home, I could help the homeless person. I could, I don't know, talk to my father I don't live with anymore. I could do that. Or is it also scary that on the flip side, we could do so many bad things? Like, on the same impulse that you could do these great things, you could just do all these crazy things. And once I made this link, it really scared me, because it's like, I like to think of myself as a generally good person, right? Most people do. So it's like, are people putting up just a kind of nice guy act? Am I putting up a nice guy act in the sense of, like, retribution for these bad things that I could do? I might have even done to maybe a small extent. A small extent. Am I kind of trying to do as many good things as I can, as kind of like pre-retribution for the things I imagine myself to be able to do? Or am I just good in itself and just want to do all these things, but sometimes I end up doing these things, because so which one is myself, And I link this to the idea of taboo, because it's like, creating this idea of right and wrong. You know, a lot of these decisions come from the environment I'm in. Like little things I do that can be good or bad are based on the environment that I've grown up on. Like for example, some people say you shouldn't give to homeless people, which is generally seen as a good thing, seen as charity, right? Because the stereotype and the prejudice that have been built up about them around like just being drug abusers and such, you know. And it's funny because I remember seeing I went to get chicken and chips with my sister one time. This guy, he's talking about how like he got caught with drugs and stuff like that. We gave him we chipped him like a pound for him to eat, like a few wings and chips and something. Standard stuff that we could just pick up, that we do it as like it's casual. He was in there in this dirty jumper he's probably worn for like a week or two, sitting in a chicken and chip shop praying before his meal, you know. And it's the whole thing, like seeing that gratitude that he prays before a chicken and chips box, it shows that there's something serious there. Like, although in the same vein, he did talk about his drug problem addiction, but he's clearly seen the light and seeing that's a problem. And even if he's still addicted, he started to seeing something. There's something's clicked in his head saying, I'm here because of me, this is my fault. Which also started on the decision of, do I do this or do that? And so in this or that, as Friedrich Nietzsche said, it's beyond good and evil. I have the book here. Wait, I have the book here. Wait, I have the book here. Friedrich Nietzsche, beyond good. So I've barely touched this book though. I'm starting to get into a little bit into moral philosophy. So, like for example, I'm reading Immanuel Kant's what's it called? Fundamental Principles on Metaphysics of Morals or something like that, where there's this big central idea of something that's morally just in itself. So not doing things for the product of something good, but the thing in itself is the action itself should be the thing that has more value, or even the volition to do such an action, should be the good thing in itself. So like the wanting, I think to simplify it, say the wanting to help someone out, or the wanting to do charity, or the wanting to, or even in reverse way, the wanting to hurt something, or the wanting to smash a window, should be what be morally judged in itself, rather than the product or the actual action. What's that thing about saying like was, I can't remember, something, I think it was a Bible quote or something like that. But if you looked at your brother's wife, you've really sinned or something like that. This idea of like, if you've thought about doing something, have you kind of already done it? Just kind of brings me back to the whole idea of like pre-retribution, like people like absorb guilt before they've done things. It's kind of scary how you could have a bunch of people going around the world saying or trying to be good people, but for what reason? What reason are they doing? Like, is it for the recognition of being a good person? Like, as I've said many times, like, I think selfless people are probably the most selfish people in the world, because a lot of the time they're throwing themselves on the line in order to get the recognition for doing such an action, or in order to see the result for someone else. They touched on this thing in the book I mentioned by Immanuel Kant, the idea of out of self-love we do things for others, or out of love for a customer. So he brings up this example of the shop owner who gives an equal price to everyone, like including the small boy who could rip off, and the old like regular customer who could give a discount to easily. Like he talks about if the guy was to give an equal price to everyone, would that be him following this idea of like moral fairness? Like in himself he wants to be fair, or is it, even if it's a good thing, is it out of like love for the customer? So he loves the customer so much, and if he shows himself as a reliable person, he can attract more customers. Because if this one kid says he got the same price as this old man, then that means that kid wasn't bumped, so that kid's going to keep coming. So love for the customers, and you could almost say love for the money that the customers give him, in addition to the customer, if at all, maybe just the money itself, you could say he's being balanced and fair, So it's like, from that you can see, what was I saying, sorry? yeah, from that you can see it's just like sometimes selfless people could be doing things for this side product. Like, I don't know, it's kind of weird reference here, but I've been playing quite a lot of this game League of Legends, and I've noticed the way people are in that game, seeing as it's a team game where you interact with people most of the time that you don't even know. It's a team game that really exposes who you are as a person. So, for example, my friend Tufayo, he's a bit of a control freak sometimes. So he's always the guy that sets up the games in our team. He's always the guy complaining about ganks. These things a certain teammate would help out other teammates. He's the type of guy that be shouting about everything and stuff like that, and taking things too seriously. Whereas I'm the type of guy, so like he plays certain champions who are like up top, the guys who are like the initiators, who initiate in team fights. This is kind of weird describing it if you don't know what I'm talking about in League of Legends. Whereas I, for example, I see myself as quite a helpful person in real life. I'm known as quite a helpful person. Normally, I'm known as a person who likes to like draw in attention, and then watch other people, like help other people burn other people in their light. Like I like to, so I play a supportive role. I play the support role. I play the support champions because they're the people that make I like the saviors. I like to save people. I like to be known as the guy who saved the person or helped the guy get the kill. I don't necessarily want to be the guy getting the kills, because then it's like this idea of me not wanting to be in the spotlight, which I know manifests itself in many ways. So it's like in the game, I'd always like if there's like a team fight, because in between team fights, this is where games are decided in team fights, right? I'm always the one that actually isn't involved in the team fight, or maybe backed up, where I only do like one little thing and then just stick to my like lane. So it's this idea of like I want to feel part of the team deep down, but I still want to be like separate from the team. And sometimes this wins games because depending on the situation, it's a better call for me to do so. But sometimes this loses games if I do it too long, or if I do it at the wrong time. If I just separate from the team when they actually need me, this can lose games. So like if I apply this to real life, this idea of me wanting to be part of the team but separate makes me kind of the guy that's invisible. So it's kind of two contrasting ideas. I want to be the guy who makes the massive plays, but not for kills, to save people, to set up kills, to just turn the momentum around. I want to be that guy, like in all walks of life. I want to be the guy that just turns the momentum around, that comes to you and says, like, you still got this, I have this, with this I can push you to the top. I want to be that guy, but in the same vein, I want to be the guy who hung back and did his own thing, but also contributed to this bigger team idea, but in a different way, not by being with the team, but doing my little thing to its best ability outside of the team. So I've noticed that, like, in a team game, any team game, you notice how much people act like they would in any other team. So you have a lot of people who get angry or blame other people for their problems because, in real life, that's what they do. That's what they become accustomed to. They've grown up for years thinking, okay, like, if something bad happens to me, then someone should have helped me, which is what you get. Like, or like, they don't think, what could I have done to avoid, okay, say in this example, what could I have done to avoid dying in a simple game, And it can turn into, what could I have done to avoid this bad situation at school, or this situation here, or this exam result, for example. And so thing of people say, like, I blame the teacher can't teach. But you have people in the same class where your teacher can't teach, who are doing decent. They found a way. They found a way to connect with the teacher, or found a way to connect with the subject itself, or they didn't let it get in their way. Like, if the teacher wasn't in, they looked at a past paper and they checked out the stuff. So it's more like, a lot of the time people forget to think, what more can they do? So learning all of this, like learning how people work, is probably one of my most interesting things. One of the most interesting things about a team game like League of Legends, because it's quite a big game right now. So it's about 80% of people I've noticed do nothing really that's really for the team. So if they do anything for the team, it's more because out of their own volition, because they want to win, obviously, right? They want to win, so they play with the team only because they want to win. But if they could, and I've seen it before, if they could, they'd rather just be by themselves and just do everything that themselves, because they know best and no one else can help them. No one else can tell them you might make a mistake here, and no one else can tell them, like for example, if they ran into a team 1v5, no one else can tell them, oh, you shouldn't have ran in there, or you should have at least told someone first so they could help you out just in case you need to disengage. They're just gonna say, oh, you guys didn't help. Oh, you guys didn't help me out when I needed you, when we could not have helped you in this situation. So it's like communication, for example. So getting back to my old idea of selflessness and selfishness. In that game, I'm almost the guy. I always the guy because I play supportive role. I'm always the guy that will die for the team, but in the back of my head, it's for the team, right? So, I die at this point in order to bait them out because I know my team is incredibly strong most of the time. Bait them out, and then we can turn the fight around, and then maybe we can win off that. So I'm often the guy when the team is like just about to win. I'm the guy that's on cooldown. I'm often the guy that's dying and watching my team win. I want to be that guy, the guy who just takes the bullet and watches my platoon march off into Berlin. I want to be that guy. So it's like, because I've become so accustomed to that. It's like I become like that all around. But then in this sense, it's like I become the most like selfishly selfless person because it's like I want other people to succeed almost just because I like seeing people grow and succeed, and it makes me feel good about myself. So it's like I'm selfishly looking for that good feeling, and I'll stop at nothing. I'll even like take a bullet just for the good feeling of taking a bullet for someone because I feel like I've made a difference. It's on that level. Like I want to be in the background and then just do something big. Just like contrasting things. But then society and its taboos, for example, would say, or its expectations of people, which is what taboos are. Like you think about it, they're like expectations of what people should and shouldn't do. So like society would say, oh, like why should I be the one to do that? When no one else would do it for me. And there probably would be a few people that would do it for you. It's just the idea of no one else would do it for me. So as you can see, it leads into a lot of things like teamwork. Taboos into everything. Like I'm talking about just taboos as in just like laws, like oh you shouldn't masturbate in public. That's a taboo. I'm talking about the little things that people forget. Like I don't know, like if it was a person in a suit lying down in a subway somewhere, bleeding, what looks like bleeding to death, you try and call an ambulance. If it was a homeless person in the same situation, you might not even do it. You might just try and ignore it. You might actually. It's the whole thing of like, because in the UK it's almost a taboo to help homeless people sometimes. You just have to watch them or act like they're invisible. And I do it as well. Everyone does it. Everyone pretends they're not there. Like you can clearly hear them asking for change, or some of them in dire peril. I hardly see people that actually look like they're about to die in 5 minutes, which is cool because that'd probably scar me a bit. But then, would I even act then? Just because of the taboos that I've been accustomed to living in London. But homelessness is just like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's kind of sad, the whole idea of the fact that we become so immersed in these taboos and they become such a part of us to the point where we're just apathetic about certain things. So, for example, like, gun crime, knife crime. Like, I think a big deal with, say, the police, like, there's animosity. There's, like, natural animosity with the police. So it's like, oh, you need help? I should probably call the police. But then it's like, damn, it's the police, man. Like it's, and then, for example, like me being like a teenage black boy from Southeast London, like I'm almost grown up with this like animosity towards the police. Apparently, I'm supposed to, fuck the feds. I think I don't want to hate the feds, but it's pretty hard to do so. It's pretty hard to not like what's that song by Living Colour? I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to harm you, I don't want to beat you, I don't want to rape you, that type of stuff. And I try not to hate you. It's a song talks about like common black stereotypes. So why you want to give me that funny vibe? Which is the name of the song, Funny Vibe. So it's like I try not to hate you. I'm trying to be open. But then I don't know, for example, like if you have stuff like you're running home. I was running home with my friend, for example, one time. I'm running home with him and because he has like classic Nigerian parents, right? If you come 10 minutes late, you're gonna get a beating for every minute you're late. That type of stuff, innit? You know, like I'll be at his yard at like 8 o'clock, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's time for bedtime," like or stuff like that. Like serious, that serious stuff. And he's like, how he's the youngest one in it, so it's obviously it's harsh for him, innit? So his mom calls him, and we're at my friend's house, like 20 minutes down the road on a bus, and then he told her that he was at my house. It was like 2 minutes from like 2 minutes jog. So he's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now." So like we get off the bus, we're sprinting, obviously in it, because he ain't trying to get beats. We're sprinting, right? And then out of nowhere, this police car comes, and then it's like, like it looked like you're running from the police. We didn't see a police car, to be honest, until we turned around and said, "Oh, there's a police car. There must be something going on in it." Us being innocent, law-abiding citizens, we're running away, and then we turn around, there's a police car. I'm like, okay, whatever. Just keep running in it. Trying to get home late, and then they stop by us. Like 5 people pull out of this van. I'm like, okay. Then we get stopped and searched, and then I think it was that one line. He said something about like, well, we are kind of looking for people like you around your age. I'm like, so he basically tells me that he's looking for. At the time, I think I was 15. So he told me he's basically looking for 15-year-old black boys who just happen to have like a black coat because it's kind of cold, and black's the most popular color for a coat. So like, he basically told me he's looking for 15-year-old black boys, and it's just like from stuff like that, it's really hard. That's why I say try not to hate you. So it's almost this idea of like little things like that. Like if they're telling me that, then obviously there's always been this taboo. Like it was almost like stuff like this idea that police officers have grown up with, that most of the people they interact with are trouble, or most of the people in this area, for example, are like gangbangers or something like that. Which is not the case. And this is where it gets really annoying, where like there's 2 taboos that come up here, right? The taboo that I can't go into this area because gangbangers here, or the taboo that my daughter can't date a black guy because he'll be dodgy until he turns like 19 and goes to uni. And then the other taboo on the flip side of someone like me or some people in my area who like say fuck the feds because of stuff like this. Obviously, like if you get stopped and searched because you're running down a road, and you didn't even see a police car, and then people say like it looks suspicious, it's like stuff like that. It doesn't create good connections. So they have this taboo of I can't trust the police for anything, even if I actually was in trouble. If I call the police, they'll just think, it's just more black and black crime, or I probably did something wrong. They're gonna think I probably did something wrong if I call them. Another person happens to not be like a black male teenager. I'm probably gonna get the hard end anyway, even if this guy attacked me or something like that, or this woman attacked me, especially. So it's this idea of like that's become a taboo now. Like calling the police for help has become a taboo because they just ruin everything. I'm not saying that myself. I'm saying that's what people would eventually believe. Like, so it's amazing how stuff like that becomes a taboo. Rather than like, I didn't want to just focus on just basic taboo stuff, like just what people call socially acceptable. So certain places it's socially acceptable to call the police. Some places it's almost like not socially acceptable because they ruin everything. Just like how some places it's socially acceptable to, I know, be nude, such as a nudist beach. Or like in the bathroom. That makes sense. It's understandable if you answered the door in a towel and you're still kind of wet because it'd be like, you just came out the bathroom. But if you're just casually naked, then, or casually wearing underwear, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Depending, it's all context dependent, I suppose. Taboos, for example, like context dependent. What was I saying? Sorry. Yeah, context dependent. Like the whole thing about me, the story about me being stopped search was kind of context dependent. Like if I actually was some kind of gangbanger and he stopped and searched me, then the person would have made the right call, right? But still, like, I'm not. So it's like, because of the context that it happened in, and the fact they actually said that to my face, I'm just like, where's the respect? So a lot of the time it's like context based, where these taboos seem to be formed, and then I think people forget to take it out of that context. So, for example, like the whole idea of that I started off in this video with the idea of the word nigger, where people still think of the form as in like 3/5 of a man or slave or something like that, you know. And some people, yeah, I'm gonna say it straight. Some niggas need to stop being niggas. It's as straightforward as that. But the way things evolve over time, as I mentioned before, the idea of people forget to take it out of its origins. So people focus too much on the origins of words rather than just the word itself and how much it can change, how subject it is to change. Any word is subject to change. Perhaps the word word will be subject to change one time, like word. Before it just used to mean things I used to communicate with, and then when we said word, it means like that's deep. That's deep. Like I understand that, I feel that, I relate to that word. You know, so even the word itself was subject to change. In a positive form, whereas nigger has actually become a neutral and positive word, which is why it's the most confusing one. No, there's a substitute for all three forms. You know, so I suppose the hardest one to find substitute for, the quickest one. Well, the hardest one to find substitute for, like that, the same amount of syllables, is probably the negative form. So people just still say nigger, which is probably why it still has the animosity around it. Or it might just be the fact that people just butt hurt. It's probably another thing I should lead on to, the idea of people just can't let go of the past. So people were like, they raped our woman, or they robbed us, they robbed our stuff, which is like the complaints of the descendant of a slave, not the slave himself, which is why, which is quite frustrating sometimes. It's like people already hold back in the way. Like I've described my story, like I'm just running home, and this guy, because he saw me, male black teenager in Southeast London, he assumed I was probably up to something just because I was running across the street. He assumed I must be up to something. People already holding you back, like the Metropolitan Police, and you're holding yourself back by still talking as if you are the slave yourself, rather than descendant of a survivor. Like if your ancestors survived slavery, who are you to make excuses? Your ancestors survived slavery. Their ancestor was taken from one continent, put onto a cramped boat, taken to another continent, reproduced, was whipped basically every day, worked like a dog, and you're the descendant of that survivor. No excuses. You should be able to do anything. Like imagine black people had a good time. Like they're really ruling the world. But it's the whole day of mentality. You're sticking with the mentality of the person just getting by, rather than the mentality of, I'm the descendant of someone who actually went through all that stuff and still survived. So stuff like taboos, such as, oh, you're white, you can't say that. You're black, you can't say that. You weren't there. You weren't there either. You weren't there either. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it should not be a taboo. For example, the most annoying taboo, it should not be a taboo for, I don't know, someone of color to just speak in a clear tone. It shouldn't be strange. It should be just like, oh, he just happens to speak in a clear tone. This black guy just happens to, this person who happens to be black, if that's going to be correct, just happens to speak in this tone, or this person who also happens to be white speaks in this tone that's more reminiscent of a quote-unquote ghetto tone, which is what people say about my friend, for example, because he uses the N-word, which is me, myself, centering myself. I should say just uses the word nigger, or the article nigger, for example. N-word just rolls off the tongue better. It really does, to be honest. People need to stop attaching things to things, if you know what I mean. Just like, I think, like, if it's a taboo for me to speak openly and speak with depth and speak with diction and vocabulary, then then there's something seriously wrong. And we've had these conversations all the time. Like, you come up with these conversations like, why, just because of what I was born with, like the people I was born, the parents I was born with, how come I'm not allowed to speak a certain way? Or how come this person not allowed to act some way? Or how come this person's not, like, if they are able to do it, then do it. Like if I'm able to write like sad lyrics to a song that uses major chords and stuff like that, then why not do it? You know, if I'm able to do acoustic dubstep, then why not do it? If I'm to just take the fundamental dubstep, the 140 BPM, the staccato, the inspiration um from from dub, reggae. If I'm to take those elements and just do it in acoustic format, who's to say I can't do it? Why is it a taboo that you can't have acoustic dubstep? Even little things like that, like taboos, I believe, are just really a limiting factor too many of the time. Like, understand we want to live in a civilized world, but the key problem with it is that deep down I don't think we are civilized. I think we are almost, I wouldn't call it civilization, I call it counter civilization. Because when I think civilization, I think development, I think constant change and development. But with ideas such as taboos and certain things that we can't do, it's almost regressive. Because like, we could have done that. We could theoretically already have a time where we are so accepting of how words change and stuff that anyone can say nigger, or anyone can say hunky, or anyone can say anything. Like, for example, like I use Arabic, I use Arabic phrases sometimes. Occasionally, like I'll say astaghfirullah, or I'll say inshallah, which respecting me, have mercy, Lord, or by the word of God, or in the future. I say stuff like that. I'm not Muslim. I have family Muslim. I'm not Muslim. I'm not Arab. But I use these terms. Some people say like, are you Muslim? So why are you using these terms? I'm like, well, it's a language. It's expression. It's just like the C note. It's like, I can't remember. There's this quote from C1 saying, "If I ever die, I want to come back to the C note, because whatever happens, whatever you do, you can't change the note in itself. And whatever anything happens, I can't change the word, I don't know, inshallah, in itself. Whatever it does to me, like whoever says it, the word in itself will still mean the same thing. It'll still have the same meaning, and unless that meaning changes, for example. So it's weird how that all links, that how meanings can change, but the word in itself, it should not be a taboo, because firstly it can change, and secondly the person using it should not be a factor really. It should be how it's used. How is a very important thing, like how are we burning the flag? I can't remember. I'm doing all these random references today. It's a pretty long video. For example, like in Futurama, Zoidberg burns the flag in order to save people from this weird thing. I can't remember the episode. He burns the flag in order to burn this robot that was attacking them on Earth Day, for example. But obviously, because apparently Americans are patriotic or something like that, which I don't understand either. I don't understand patriotism, and we all live on the same planet. But that's another video. Yeah, so he burns the flag. Like, you burned the flag, and it's like, yes, to preserve the freedom that it represents. So in a sense, in any other context, burning the flag would be seen as a horrible taboo, especially on a celebration of independence or Earth Day or something like that. But in this sense, it's actually working in its favor. So ugly speaking, taboos don't even exist because a lot of them are subject to some kind of contextual variation. Such as in that one where you burn a flag in order to, I don't know, hold people back, or I think he threw the burning flag to the attacking robot or something like that. Futurama is a weird cartoon, for example. Or if I was to read 50 Shades of Grey, not for the erotic content, more as a study, or if I just want to read it for vocabulary, don't know why I'd read it, for example, stuff like that, or stuff like, taboos. Like, I'm looking at all these 18 video games I play, for example, like Saints Row, Gears of War, for example, or the Saboteur. Saboteur is a brilliant one. The idea of like Nazism, like mention Nazis in any light can be a taboo unless it's like negative. They didn't do, not everything they did was nihilistically evil. Sorry, but it's like the whole idea of like you say Nazi and then automatically creates evil. But yeah, or evil or taboo. I can't say that. I can't mention it. In fact, in Germany you can't really talk about Nazis, can you? Something like that. But like, in this game, playing the Saboteur, I've actually learnt a few things about things I didn't know before, because I researched the Saboteur, and it's based on this guy, I think William Grover Williams, a race car driver who, or race car mechanic or something like that, who started working for the special forces in France, which is what the game's based on. A car mechanic who starts working for he starts helping out the French resistance. But he works for the British people. It's just like, from that I've learned, if that was such a taboo that it didn't end up becoming a game that was made, then I wouldn't have learned something new. So in this sense, the taboo in this context, what was once taboo becomes a good thing. But say in some other context, like it's incredibly hard to read Mein Kampf or order Mein Kampf because it's weird, or it's controversial. If I read Mein Kampf and found something actually that interested me or something I actually liked, an idea I liked, if I said that, regardless of what it was, regardless if it was like, oh, we should help the homeless and feed the needy, you know, if that was in Mein Kampf, like just because it's written by Adolf Hitler or something like that, people will automatically give me the awkward look, like, "Sir, you're doing it again. You're going to the dark side." I'm like, if to separate things into just individual things. Like when your parents shout at you, or at one point shout at you, I don't know my target audience, really. Like my dad was complaining when I was in Germany because I went off with my cousin without telling him because he was asleep, and he's complaining at me. But then he always has to be unreasonable because some people can be unreasonable when they complain. So he said, if they said they wanted to go somewhere in a car and then you would have just gone with them, I'm like, why'd I do that? In my back, I'm like, why'd I go in a car? We went to the Chinese shop like 40 meters from the house we were staying in, for example. But then it's the whole thing of like, what was I thinking about? Yeah. So like, because he's complaining at me, because he's now angered me with the unreasonable comment about me going off in the car with them, sometimes I'd be prone to forget what I should be taking away from it. So what I need to take away from that, and to separate why I need to separate that from the whole annoying feeling of the unreasonable thing he said to me is, I should tell him where I'm going. If we're in another country, I should tell him where I'm going. I should wake him up and tell him where I'm going. I need to remember that next time, and I need to somehow let go of the other things. Just like how, someone uses the word nigger, I have to remember that sometimes there's different versions, and I have to remember to focus on the context rather than hold on to all these past things of this past connotations of slavery. As a great man once said, in kindled pain, dishonesty is shown through the past we known. Nothing's changed; it's in the bone. Which is kind of a random reference there, but like in that sense, in kindled pain, we've kind of become a group of people who've just shared this pain of slavery and passed it down to our children, or share this pain of anything really, like say for example like a war apologist or like a Jewish person, sharing this pain of like secularism, because every time they seem to be involved with other people, something bad happens, like slavery or the Holocaust or something. So it's like in the kind of pain, this honesty is shown for the past known. Yes, like there's bad people shown for the past we known. Nothing's changed in the bone, which can be seen in many ways. Like nothing's really changed. We've always been this way. We've always been this bad. But in no sense, this is a good thing. If nothing's changed in the bone, then that means I've always had the potential to do things. Like regardless of what I was born with, I've always been able to do things. Like if I'm suddenly able to, I don't know, speak in front of a group of people tomorrow, or do something, then that means I've always been able to do it. It's always been in the bone. I've always had the ability to do it. I just didn't attest to it because of some things that have held me back because of enkindled pain. The kindled pain that I've been growing up with, this idea of, black people being treated badly, or people from my era not really being successful, for example. That's the kindled pain that people have become to agree with, and therefore creating the taboo of, oh, this person can't speak this way, you can't be well spoken, or this person can't be successful, I wasn't successful, therefore what chance do they have? Because of because of the dishonesty and because of the bad situation that people became overwhelmed with through all the past they've known. So in Kingdom Pain, dishonesty is shown through all the past we've known. But then again, nothing's changed. It's in the bone. We are able to climb out of it. We've always been able to deal with it, which is why big thinkers, like big people, I've always been regarded, because there have been people that I remembered. Nothing changes in the bone. I've always been able to do this. Martin Luther King was always knew, like, he was able to make a difference. You know, or I don't know, William Grover Williams, the race car mechanic. You know, like, imagine how scared people would be, like, if you told them, oh, I'm working for the Special Armed Forces in France. You know, occupied France. The France has been occupied by Nazis. I have no reason to be here. I'm just a race car mechanic. But no, I want to do something big. You know, or if he's like, no, the Germans are strong. The Germans are strong. I don't want to do this. You know, it's just kindled pain. Like, people haven't succeeded before. People have been in the armed forces before and they've died. They've been killed. They've been caught. You know, if you focus on the past and what we know, we can never develop. Which goes back to this idea of taboo, because of holding us back. Because if we cannot develop, then who are we as the quote-unquote dominant race? We have to stay dominant. We have to keep going. We can't just get complacent. Complacency is failure. In the environment, complacency is failure. Any animal that's become complacent as the apex predator, you know, has eventually failed, probably. I don't know if that's true or not, but they probably have. You know, any animal that has been complacent in the environment, you know, the rule of life is evolve or die. This is how evolution works, you know. Like, in this situation, yes, we are the apex predators. Maybe in the next, I don't know, 2 million years, the situations will be different. It'll be harder for us to hunt, or it'll be harder for, or maybe it'll be easier for lions, or maybe easier for, I don't know, Venus flytraps. The environment might be better suited for Venus flytraps than it is for us, and then we have to evolve or die. It's as simple as that. Complacency is failure, and taboos in themselves are complacency. We're complacent with accepting this and not accepting that, and we don't want to change it because one of our biggest taboos is change. We can't have change. Change is the biggest taboo of them all, really. You know, and it ties in perfectly. This fear of things changing, or the fear of, oh, one day it will actually be completely, absolutely equal for all races, all genders, all sexualities, and I'd actually have no more excuses to fall back on. You know, so therefore, let's make any development a taboo. Let's make it so if I'm gay, then I have an excuse. You know, rather than if I'm gay, then I just do that. Like I said, separate this one thing, and just say these are the things I can do. You know, goes back to the whole idea of it's in the bone. Like, it's kind of in us to, because we've grown up with it. It's in us to think of an excuse of, like, I didn't do well in that paper because I didn't try. I'm lazy, which always has a fear of something. I had a fear of change. I had a fear of actually being successful and actually doing it by yourself rather than having an excuse. You know, it's like me saying, oh, because I got 3 B's in the CIAS, I don't know, maybe I'd be able to get into, like, Cambridge somehow because of my background, and they need people like me because they need more money. Which is like, I've always had it in me. If I wanted to go to Cambridge, I've always had it with me. It'd be incredibly hard if I want to go to Cambridge now, for example. Incredibly hard. I'd have to get clean A stars next year, for example. You know, I'd have to basically get 95 or higher % on every single module and everything if I want to even get, like, A star, AB or something, for example. So, but it's always been in me. I've always been able to do that. You know, it's a question of how long will it take for me to stop falling back on the excuses that I've made for myself. Like, I'm pretty smart, but I'm not supposed to be one of those insane smart people you see on television that, you know, get their A star in further maths at, like, year 5 or something. You know, when am I gonna stop using those excuses and say, like, I've always had it in me, but I've also had this other thing in me where it's like, I can't do it. You know, and maybe just getting that as children. You know, you start discovering things like how the elephant, if you put a stump on an elephant's foot as a child, feed it till it grows up, elephants don't forget. So the elephant will think it's not strong enough until you genuinely prove to it that the elephant, until you genuinely prove to the elephant that it's strong enough, or maybe if it fears for its life and runs away, I think even then the elephant will think, oh, it's not strong enough to move the stump, because at one point when it was a kid it couldn't do it. That's what I mean by it's in the bone. It sticks with them. At one point, I don't know, a half Irish, half Kenyan man couldn't be president of the United States. Like literally, that at one point, the United States of America was that racist, but now it's been done, and now people fear change. I think about it, like in a time when people in America, because people in America are stupid. Sorry, I'm being a bit blanket there. That's one of my taboos. My taboo is I can't go to America for too long because the whole anti-Islamist ideology there, just because of a few guys blowing up a place. I can't do that. It's annoying. So I've created this taboo that Americans are stupid, and I've created this taboo of going to America and living there. So for me, going to America is a taboo. So people have personal taboos. For me, going to America is a taboo because I get so annoyed with how the system works. I get annoyed with everything. But think about it, like you have a guy here who had a Muslim background and became president of the United States in a time of slightly Islamic animosity, you know? So it's like, anything is possible, you know? I think the fact that he happens to be half black, like that's not even important really. I think it's more the fact that he came from a Muslim background, actually got to where he was is actually crazy without someone stopping him. It shows that's always been in this. It's always been in the bone, you know? Like the good and the bad. It's the good side of it and the bad side of it. You know, it's the thing about taboos. Like, often they're here to reason to protect us, something, but then they seem to destroy us in the same way. You know, that we plan to have them protect us. So, in my opinion, away with taboos. Oh well, as much as we can do, before my taboos come into place, or my taboo of we can't change that, but we can change that, which is a problem, I suppose. We probably have taboos will never go because we'll never agree. But I think we need to start agreeing. We need to start agreeing. Like in my opinion, anyone should be able to say nigger, or no one should be able to say it. For example, or anyone should be able to say any word, but it must be context dependent. We must focus on context dependency. I think it should be possible for anyone. Regardless. So away with taboos, in my opinion. Away with, the kindled pain. I think it's important to understand the kindled pain and dishonesty that's happened to us, but not let it be not let it be what we base everything on. We need to keep this. We need to keep trying. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep discovering. Taboos are there to be broken. Rules are there to be broken. Rules are there in place really because something bad could happen if we didn't follow these rules. But if we can move on from this bad thing, or move on from this taboo thing, then the rule does loses its usefulness, it loses its value. So if you can move on from these things, such as black male teenager must be a gangbanger. If you move on from I'm of this race or this color. For example, I'm a white female. I can't do street dance or something like that. I've seen some amazing white female street dancers, but I don't call them white female street dancers. I call them street dancers who happen to be white and female, because this is what I value them on: the street dancer, not the white and female part. Because this is not important. This is just color commentary around this big central idea of street dance. My love for dance or my love for music should override this. Just like how the parent who loves their son enough to get over the fact of that they're homosexual. It's just like that. So it's like you need to get away from these things and focus on the fact of separating things into things. So like we shouldn't call this is good. This is what I should say. In this situation, this is a good thing. Or in this situation, this factor is not important. We shouldn't think about this factor. We should think about their technical skill, for example. We should think about their passion, their dedication, if they're a dancer, for example. So it's like we have no more use for them. But of course we still have use for taboos because we still keep with them. And this is the main problem. Deep down we all know they're kind of wrong, most of them. Or deep down we know we don't need to have them, but we still keep with them because it's what we've grown up with. And as I said, our biggest taboo is change. But with that, I'd just like to thank you for watching this amazingly long video. I actually just touched an hour, which is crazy. If you actually watched the whole thing, thank you very much, because I have no clue how I talk through the whole thing. My throat is killing me now. It's ripped to pieces. I'm gonna go sleep because it's 1 hour 43, and I said £1.43. I'm that tired. It's 1:43 a.m. Thank you for watching.